let me throw over back to Kun Nishapa, who has been taking notes, I believe, and then to Kun Sumet right after. If people want to travel, but with what's happening, there are concerns, there are worries, there are anxieties. So, how should we cope with the clients and customers' anxiety and reassure incentive travelers? You've mentioned quite a few already, but please elaborate more. Thank you.
Right. I think many other or all panelists basically they already touched on this key point, which is communications. So I would like to highlight on the communications. The communications must be there. It has to be direct. It has to be in time, on time, and it has to be factual. I think this is one of the key, and it is very important for the suppliers to stay very close to the clients to understand their anxiety, their fears, so that we are ready to offer a tailor-made solutions. So basically, in order to cope with whatever anxieties that the clients have, because those anxieties are real, and we have to respect their anxieties. And in order to do that, we have to understand what the root cause of the anxiety, and let's see how we can really manage or how we can cope with that or provide any solution that tackle to all those issues.
Mm-hmm. And Kun Sumet, please share your views as well, especially when it comes to dealing with the client's anxiety to restore confidence and the kind of products or programs that should be designed to put those minds at ease once they come here to the Kingdom of Smiles.
Mm-hmm. Well, it all depends on the other side of the food chain, basically. The level of comfort that people need would depend on the situation when they're considering to travel. I mean, but so to speak, the more we are suppressed, the more there is a need to go out and explore and travel again. So, but then everything has to be with caution. As long as we monitor the trends or the concerns, it will be lesser and lesser. Now, I mean, like Bangkok Airways is starting the flight to Samui again today. So there would be gradual ease of travel possibilities. But then right now, the operators would make sure that all the standards are met, like physical distancing, checking in during flight, post-flight, things like that. So it has to put people's minds at ease of the threat or the risk. So really cannot say, I mean, I do have a crystal ball, but it didn't really give me an answer when, normalcy will return. Just have to follow the developments really. But now I can see that things are easing down now, at least in our area. So we'll just have to take it as it comes really. I mean, there's no set solution to answer.
Yeah, and may I add to Kun Sumet, I think based from the recent research from the International Festival and Event Association has conducted with more than 2,000 respondents, surprisingly 89% of the respondents said that they missed the live events. And when they are asked whether they are ready to travel again, 80% said yes. So that echoes a lot to what Kun Sumet said, that the more that we suppress, the more the needs to travel to go out. Yeah. And right now, really, I think everybody is now adjusting, and that shows how adaptive people are in whatever circumstances. So I think what we are waiting for, one thing that can really boost the comfort and confidence would be the vaccine. And people would say that it probably would be around the end, if not next year, early next year, then probably second half of next year, or even sooner. So basically, what measures that we are working at this very moment, to me, it could be an interim, but it can set a good foundation and a new norm in the sense of giving the sense of safety, the hygiene, the comforts and confidence. So there are areas that basically really interim, but there are also areas that we need to follow through to set a new discipline for the industry.
Mm-hmm. Next question, let me ask Nitin. You actually mentioned a bit of communication already, but in terms of designing the programs to put your customers' mind at ease, How can we carefully design the experience to win business post-COVID and grow together again?
Well, this question, I would say, a lot will depend on what are the new standard operating procedures, as I mentioned earlier. And if the standard procedures are designed in a global manner, like, for example, recently I attended a webinar from Marriott in India, and they have, identified 167 touch points where they have given touchless, service and a touchless check-in, and they will have QR codes in rooms where they can scan and, do stuff rather than just touching it. So I think, that will, a lot of those new procedures will define the new experience that the customer will have. So I think we need to communicate these, again, communication becomes the key to actually tell people that this is what is going to happen, and this is how it's going to be replicated, not only in India, but also in the rest of the world, because the global brands are coming up with new SOPs. So I think the new SOP design and communication of those SOPs, going to the customer and sitting with them and working with them in terms of giving them confidence, and of course the government, reassurance that things are better and good with factual information, as mentioned, would definitely be one of the key things when designing this experience would be concerned. So that would be the base.
Jennifer, North America is a major source market for the incentive world. American companies are big spenders and dictate the standards of incentive service. Have they actually showed any preference or set any criteria for incentive travel?
Sorry, I just missed the end of your question, honey. Can you just repeat the end?
What I wanted to know is that your clients, have they shown any preference, any criteria when it comes to incentive travel when the pandemic is over?
Yeah, my clients continue to be optimistic about incentive travel and are continuing to plan their 21, 22, and 23 programs. 2020, like Nitin and others said, have been postponed from 2020 to 2021, or they're combining, so they're having larger programs in future years, or giving the qualifiers extra benefits because they've couldn't have their 2020 programs. But to echo or build upon what Nitin said as well, when you're communicating to people that are looking at traveling internationally for incentive programs, communication is huge. And that goes from both an agency perspective about my communication of what our team will do on the ground in partnership with the DMCs and the hotels. And one of those things that the suppliers can do now in the marketplace is to be prepared for those questions. So, we've already talked about the hygiene measures, but you also need to take into consideration crisis management plans. So if somebody comes to you at that's been on a program, both meeting and incentive, and says, I have a fever, what's the protocol for that? So as a DMC, you've already established where the local healthcare providers are close to the hotel. You've communicated what the plan is. From an agency perspective, it's knowing it's me telling my qualifiers, ahead of time, these are the protocols. Should we run into any health and safety issues, just like I would if there was any threat of terrorism or tsunamis or anything else that we've always been prepared for in this industry. We come prepared. So I think it's making people feel comfortable that you've got all your eggs in the basket and you've got it all lined up, and you're gonna take very good care of them. So it's again, everybody said it. It's all about communication and being prepared. So I think as an industry, if we come out with the parameters and like Nishika said about the standards, and we're communicating to them first, then they're going to feel better and they're going to return back to international travel sooner.
Before we take a look at the poll results, let me ask Alicia this one question. It's about the budget. What about the budget post-COVID? Will it be scaled down, once everything has rebound?
For budget, I think some maybe goes down a little bit, because it depends on the economic development, because it looks like epidemic caused the economic problem. Some company they do have some a problem, and they want to focus and use their budget to develop more on their, business. So the incentive might, the budget for incentive might go a little bit down, but for direct sale, it will be the same, because that's the way they encourage their all their staffs to do the business. That's the way. So for direct sales, no. And also, but this is a trend. So this is tell us as a DMC or as a commission bureau, we need to find a new product to really give ROI, the return on investment, and what's the it's the same kind of even more innovative program, but with a low cost. So those are kind of the things we have to create, we have to think about, and also give more value to the incentive group program.
Okay, now let's take a look at the votes from the audience. As for poll number 2, let's assume we're ready to travel again. What will make you choose any destination for your client's incentive trip? So, well, it's hygiene standard and healthcare facilities of businesses at that destination, which got 76% of the votes. All right, moving on to the last poll. We have one more. Let's have a look. Site Thailand, question please. What industry do you think will start to travel first? IT, financial, multi-level marketing, or not sure? So please share your views with us, and we'll come back to this last and final poll results later. Moving on to the last question from me. Ladies and gentlemen, as a site member and incentive professional, can you tell us what lesson have you learned from this crisis? Kun Nitapha.
Right. I think we have all the past crises to thank too, because every time that we came out from any crisis, we came out stronger and we came out sharper, mostly. Yeah. But what I learned from this crisis is that people face-to-face is the key. Nobody can beat, or nothing can beat face-to-face meeting. People still want to meet, they crave gathering. And no matter what happens, humans' adaptability are always there. Communications are key. We need to be accepting. We need to be open to change. And we need to, for those who are not technology savvy, this is the right time for you to learn. So once COVID's over, then you can come out with something that is very interesting, provide an in-trend. Not only in terms of hype the experiences, but also in terms of serving the new normal. And also, I think that the crisis taught us how we had been so unkind to nature in the past. I think COVID came out from the reason that we take nature for granted. So after this, I believe the sustainability and CSR could be one of the great solutions, and we have to treat nature, Mother Earth, more kinder in all senses. Yeah.
Nitin?
Well, this crisis has definitely because this is like almost like my first crisis that I've been into, because on the past I've learned from all my mentors and senior people in the industry. So I've been talking a lot to my mentors and understanding how they have dealt with it, or sharing experiences of other people with other people. I think the most important aspect that I would say I've learned is the difference between needs and wants. So I think being minimalistic at this point of time is something that I've learned, and which was always like something that I was doing. But I think everybody would definitely understand that our needs and wants, a clear definition of that. And then of course we have to be more patient and more disciplined in the fact that like we work from home, we still have to have a discipline. We need to be ready. We need to be like going to the office or going to the customer. So it's like a different discipline altogether. So I think that's one thing that the industry professionals will have to adapt, as Nichika rightly mentioned. Adaptation would be the key. People, it's not about the survival of the fittest. It's like the survival of the quickest. So it's about speed on how you can change quickly and how you can adapt to the new things that are happening. So you have to do a lot of unlearning and relearning, and that has to be quick. So I think that's one of the couple of key points that I've learned on this crisis.
Kunsumet is already ready to go to the beach.
Yeah.
We enjoy your background. What have you learned from the crisis, sir?
Just nature back on its feet. I think I've learned to always exercise sound judgment on when we consume the media. I think media is very powerful and it can steer people in whichever way it intends to. So we need to be mindful and digest information and share it properly. I think that's very important with the media, because the past crisis didn't seem so damaging, because I think less media had a role to play, but now it's totally different. So, but I think in the end it came to a point that the media start to be truthful and share information, because this threat is very real, and they need to be truthful. So that's one big lesson for me. Another one would be that I found that the business event community is very cohesive. We are very together. We've been doing a lot together. I mean, this week there was like at least 4 or 5 webinars that I've attended or spoken in. So everybody is trying to keep it going and project positivity. So this is a good thing out of COVID-19.
Alicia?
Yes, what we learn and we believe more is that our agency DMC are the main pillar of the travel industry, and where the marketing.
Alicia, your connection is a bit unstable.
Can you hear me? Now
Okay.
It's better? Yeah.
Now it's better.
We're the marketing and the sales leader of the industry, and we have to be strong. We need to be strong, and we always need to remind us we make the impossible possible. This is especially very important this time. We learn that this is our will, and we need to do so. And also, we also learned that most of our travel agencies and DMCs are small and medium-sized business. We need to learn anti-risk capabilities and risk management to run our company well. And another one is I believe that the online events can also help us with destination promotion, especially all those webinars, direct video program, and that how we need to learn the skills and learn to do it better and more efficient. And also, for me, ever since year 2000, I experienced 2 major crises in the world, which really affect our industry. The first 2 that all the countries, each other, and we help the whole world out of the crisis. But this time is more difficult because the epidemic is even more dangerous, not only for the global economic and financial security, but also for human security. So we need, at this time, we learn, we need to more trust, with all the partners, especially in our industry, and more unity. And that means we are on the same boat. We need to unite together and really team. And we also learn, and today, never as before, that the local government, the CVB, the Global Industry Association, and the local association play a very strong key role. And we have to stand up first in front of the industry as a team and we are one family. We need to help each other. And also the other one is that we know that the COVID-19 will stay with us for a longer time. We have to be ready and also always have a backup plan for our program.
Absolutely true. If we are united, we can make the impossible possible. Jennifer, what are your views?
I would say that right now, our industry has been elevated overall as an events industry, both to our government stakeholders, and they've seen now what the economic impact of our global industry is, and also within the corporations that we're working with. I think now they see the value proposition that both incentive travel and meetings have on their businesses. So I think that's allowed us to have a strategic seat at the table, both with lobbying with our governments, as well as within our corporation. And then I would say from a total personal point of view, I think everybody's searching for community. You guys all touched upon that as well. The site community has just been amazing. The level of engagement we have from our volunteer leaders right now. People are being furloughed all over the world, and yet they're calling me and saying, how do I get involved? We're gaining new members every day, and we're sharing support and positivity amongst each other. And honestly, that's given me, when I'm working daily to cancel and postpone and feel like I'm not accomplishing anything, the work that we're doing at site gives me focus. And I think it's just remaining positive. This too shall pass. And Nitin, you're much younger than me, but I've been through a number of these crises. And, right now we just all have to count our blessings for what we have and enjoy Mother Nature that she's provided for us right here, my little town of Port Hope, which is a little town an hour outside of Toronto. We have black bears coming down that have never been seen here before, right? And that's because the trout are running and there's nobody fishing. And so, yeah, just take the time to do something that brings you joy and be part of a community that cares about you.
Well, the timeline of the recovery is unclear, as we all know, but we are certain that this too shall pass, and we will definitely reconnect. And I believe that people will want to travel again. So thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. Before we go to Q&A, there are a lot of questions from our audience, but let's have a quick look at the poll results. As for question number 3 that I asked you guys earlier, what industry do you think will start to travel first? And it looks like it's MLM, multi-level marketing, 39%. Okie dokie. All right, now moving on to Q&A. As I mentioned, there have been a lot of questions coming in from the audience. We have, I think, about half an hour, probably around that time. So let me select a few questions from this menu. Okay, here's the first one. What might be the top 3 new norm in incentive travel? This question is for every one of you. What might be the top 3 new norm in incentive travel? Maybe Nitin this time, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think the first and foremost would definitely be hygiene and sanitization. I think that is one of the key aspects that, as the poll also suggested. And then of course personalization, it can go to another level, with the technology coming into picture and people getting more onto apps and more digital technology. I think these 2 definitely would be the key ingredients of the new incentive travel world.
Kun Sumetคะ the 3 new norms in incentive travel.
I take the cue from the other side of the food chain. That's Nitin. Yes, but hygiene and health safety would be the top, at least in the beginning. I always believe that human nature, we forget things soon. We forget things too easily. After the threat is gone for a while, maybe there's a vaccine. Everything will be back on a normal basis. But in the meantime, we need to protect everybody concerned. So, and individualization, like Nichapa said, also would probably become more used, more popular. This to ensure safety and ensure experience. And I always need to develop a procedure for immersive experiences for incentive groups. we'll have to work on logistics, separate people into smaller groups and brief local participants very well. And life goes on. So,
Jennifer?
I would say definitely the health, security, hygiene, but after 9/11, we saw security measures at airports and within airlines increase, and you're going to see incentive travel programs traveling with nurses or doctors and asking you more difficult questions about the health security of your area. I think the incentive travel programs that focus on soft power, like employee engagement, will increase versus just financial ROI programs. And then I think you'll see actually a growth of family programs. Families are spending a lot of time together, but I think they're quite enjoying the experiences. I think when they do travel, they'll want to have their families travel as well. So I think you'll see an increase in family travel.
Alicia?
Yes, of course, hygiene and also security is the first. And so we need to, in fact, recently we're going to run a program, especially for hygiene, from the 6 elements supporting all the travel and incentive travels, including transportation, including hotel, and also the restaurants, shopping area, and entertainment area. We talk about hygiene, how you can guarantee the best way to make us, we follow the regulation, but we still, the group feel comfortable, not, in a very nice way. So another one, I think we still, in some area, we still open with the control of the people flow. So maybe only 50% of the flow or 30% of the flow that used to be. So in that way, that when we run a group, we have to make it a smaller group. And so that we have to control it. So this is going to be normal. And we have to design it in this way. And, the other way is, I think, all the promotion for the destination, I think will turn more online. And, because the unfamiliar of the COVID-19, if it will come back, when it's the second wave, we don't know. So more and more destination promotion will be online. Going to be normal.
คุณนิชภาคะ
To me, I think definitely hygiene and safety. Secondly, would be the collaboration among the suppliers to come up with new products and services, and that includes logistics as well. And when I said logistics, it would be starting from air travel down to starting from the touch point that they touched, the first touch point to Thailand, and then to their departure. And third would be the content where technology would play a key part, and sustainability would be sort of incorporated to make sure that the program would not be that intense, but rather would be a bit more flexible with promote sense of self, and also promote personal well-being.
Okay, our next question is for Nitin and Alicia. Do you foresee a big price war to attract tourists during the recovery period after COVID-19?
Alicia, you go first.
Okay, it's clear, but it's mainly the competition between the Commission Bureau, the nations. Even in China, when in May, our state council started to gradually make the meeting industry come back, and all because of this new statement, all the provinces and the cities immediately issued how to help with the meeting incentive developed in their country to attract more meeting events come into their city. So at the same time, they also issue the financial support and kind support, and they compete with each other. And so this is what we see. But I think this is something that I think we need to more focus on the hygiene, the security, which is the most important. But of course, with some of the difficult time, and many of our clients still want to go on with their already planned incentive program, and they really need the community bureau and the city with the support, any kind of support, financial or in kind. So the war is mainly between the city and the government. Of course, the negotiation is also going on.
Well, talking about the India market, I believe that price has always played a big role, and of course, price war has also resulted in the current scenario, resulted in a lot of companies closing down because they never used to work on a healthy margin. So I think that is something which definitely companies who are selling incentive travel or TMCs who are working with the Indian counterparts here have to be more mindful of developing a procedure where we have minimum profitability that has to be there on the file. Otherwise, the government has to put some regulation also on that, because I take a cue from Singapore. If you operate a company in Singapore, if you're less than 8-9% profit, and you declare less the profit, and then your license is bound to be cancelled. So I think government authorities have a larger role to play in terms of this price impact to keep the parity. But I think also the Indian companies and the TMCs in Thailand counterparts have to also be very mindful that they are not working under a certain percentage of profit to really to understand, and to give the quality to the customer, because the customer is now expecting quality. He will pay more price for health security, for all the standard operating new procedures. So you just don't have to undercut each other. You have to be more collaborative, pick up the phone and talk to each other. So and the best person win. Of course, there'll be competition, and everybody will be very aggressive to get business. But I think this crisis, as everybody mentioned, has brought a lot of people together, and I've seen a lot of competition talking to each other, preparing strategies, and I think that is one of the key aspects that we will see in the coming months as well.
Okay, proceeding to the next question. This one is for Jennifer. Do you foresee higher operational costs from the tour operators, hotels, and other parts of services due to the new normal practice? Will that affect the decision in arranging an incentive trip again?
Well, I've already communicated to my clients that if they're reducing the number of people that are on the incentive travel trip, they shouldn't be reducing their budget, because definitely costs are going up. Airlines need to recover from this. Hotels need to recover from this. And right now, with the demand going forward for 2021 and 2022, you're going to see an increase in demand. I think a lot of people were hoping that in the North American model, it would turn from a supplier's market to a buyer's market, but I personally don't foresee that happening with just the demand, the pent-up demand, and just the costs of, for example, if you are going to do a buffet station now, which, instead of having an open buffet, you're going to have action stations with chefs serving the food, and more space within the banquet area, or your more setup time for even if you're adding a virtual component to your conference or an event, you need more technical, more AV. So overall, I think costs are going to go up. And from a Canadian perspective, our dollar is taking a nosedive. So I think overall operating costs are going to go up. So they are going to be looking for destinations that can offer value for dollars. Right now, it's something like 44 cents on the dollar to go to the US. So outbound even further for that value proposition.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the next question is for everybody to answer. As the world recovers from COVID-19, do you anticipate wellness and mindfulness elements to become more popular and must-have items in incentive itineraries? Let me start with Khun Sumedh.
I think that was answered in the previous question. Yes, it would be, at least in the beginning. As I say, we don't know what this will come to, and how people will feel after the vaccine is in place. I think people appreciate the freedom of discovering. So we'll just have to take it step by step. Yes, but health mindfulness would be featured prominently in the beginning.
I think Kun Nishapha actually touched on that in the previous question as well. Would you like to say a bit more on this?
Well, I
Emphasize.
think everybody is now getting more mindful in terms of well-being, whether it is a personal well-being, a family well-being. So I think that we need to make sure that we incorporate that into the program. And even though maybe it could be, we could be in the program, we can offer certain lax time for them to enjoy by themselves, to be with their inner self and to promote the spiritual well-being. I think that could be pretty appealing. Yes.
Alicia?
Yes, but I think see another and COVID-19 make us more feel more important. You know, the family is more important. So there is a trend that because for Chinese incentive, a lot of them not families, not always with families, couples, but and now there is a kind of a trend, and they think you know the families traveling together give them this kind of unity and care each other, and also good for or they know each other, and which is also good for their business. So it's a trend. I think this is something happening. Yeah.
Jennifer?
I would say the impact on mental health overall for many people globally has been significant. So I think more people are reflecting on what it takes to remain positive and healthy. And I think that's not going to go away. I think people are going to practice wellness in their routine more than ever.
Nitin?
I totally agree with all of my fellow panelists that, mindfulness and working on mental and physical health will definitely be one of the key things. And I have seen a lot of people will be adopting the Thai and the Indian tradition of holding hands than shaking hands. I think that is something which is definitely going to be adopted and is being adopted. We saw world leaders, actually using these things, and I think these are going to be also incorporated in the daily lifestyle that we will be living from now.
Okay. We have another question for Jennifer here. It's about budgets again. All industries of corporate segment have been affected from coronavirus, and they are facing with financial problems. Incentive travel is one of the unnecessary points to be cut off this year or next year, surely. What is your point of view regarding this matter?
I think we're talking about perception versus, again, I think that's why it's all on how incentive travel is handled internally, and that the growth of soft power incentive travel programs will grow. So I think it's how you've communicated the value of that incentive travel.
Okay. We have time for one more question. This will be our last for Kun Nishapha. With respect to the new guidelines being developed with PICA and TCEP, will you be looking to certify venues, hotels, suppliers?
Well, there are two standards that we have been working on. First of all, the venue standard, we have been working on that since maybe last 7 years. And we actually came up with what we call MICE venue standard. We categorize into 3 sectors. First would be the meeting room. Second would be exhibition hall and convention center. And then the other one would be event venues. And that has been done and proven. Right now we have more than 900 rooms throughout the whole country. The whole exhibition center, convention centers throughout the whole country has been certified, and that gives, I hope, and I believe that it gives a good peace of mind to all our international clients that when it comes to these venues, they would be served with international standards. And in there are certain sets of safety and hygiene issues. The second one would be specifically to cope with COVID thing, and we call it hygiene discipline. Basically, this discipline measures is used to present to the government that running MICE or business events in Thailand is safe, and therefore they should lift the lockdown. on this particular area. And I think that we had been given a very positive uh, note from the government, and hopefully we can reopen the whole thing in June. Because right now, the measure has been sent to the Ministry of Health. They said it is good to go. They want to present it in the cabinet, and if everything goes right, then starting from June, all the business events can open. But once again, under strict hygiene discipline measures, we need to make sure that all business events that are running starting from June will be COVID-free. That's the whole intention. Yeah. And again, the other standards would be that we have been in constant touch and in discussion, in collaboration with all the key MICE associations, TICA, SITE, Exhibition Association, and also Event Association, just to make sure, especially in this particular issue, incentive travel, we have been working with Kun Sumet and also Kun Max to come up with new products and services, and that is to respond to Alicia and also to Jennifer and also to Nitin, because China, India, and of course North America, first Asia would come back to Thailand, and we need to make sure that we have all the foundations ready, including new service and new products. New subvention program has been formed. We will continue to monitor the situation so that we can adapt the subvention program that can really tailor-made to whatever needs from our clients. And I have full list of what Jen, Alicia, and Nitin, in his capacity of the customer, talk about. I have long list of that. These would be tailored and definitely will be in good discussion with all the relevant parties, just to make sure that Thailand will continue to be your best destination to come back to.
It's going to be a long weekend for you, Kunishapa. But what's had me excited is that, you know, the events business is going to come back to life in June. So that's something very positive to hear.
Yeah,
well, we're running out of time, and there are plenty more questions. We will definitely not be able to answer all right now, but what I can promise you is that those remaining questions will be sent over to our speakers, and then we'll have them write the answers and then post it onto the Site Thailand Facebook page very soon. So stay tuned for that. So from today's talk, we understand that there will be changes, there will be challenges, but there will still be opportunities as well. And we will definitely be riding this brave new world together. And when everything is ready back to its normalcy, you're ready to come to Thailand, Kun Nichapa and Kun Sumet will definitely be here with Site Thailand to welcome you with open arms. That is one thing for sure. And before we say goodbye, I'd like to mention that we have another webinar from Site Thailand that is coming up on Friday, May 29th, on the topic, we are all in this together, the empathy communication skills to get closer to your clients. So to find out more information, please have a look at Site Thailand's Facebook fan page. And before we go, just let me request our audience to help evaluate today's webinar as well. You can scan the QR code and the evaluation form will pop up, and the code will come up in just a moment on the screen. On behalf of Site Thailand, I'd like to take this opportunity to once again thank our speakers for joining us. Kun Nichapa, Kun Sumet, Alicia, Nitin, and Jen, who's joining us from Canada. I believe it's about midnight now. So good night to Jennifer, and to all of you, have a very wonderful day. Thanks to our viewers for joining us both on Facebook and through a Zoom webinar. Do stay safe, stay healthy, stay resilient, and hope to see you soon in person when the time is right. I'm Salapansa Narula. Have a good one. Swadee ka.